Last there, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you clear to land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. How you all doing out there? And tell me, the weather here I'm not actually at home. I'm in Quebec City, and the weather here is stunningly gorgeous. Is it stunningly gorgeous at home?
No, it's cold and wintry.
Okay, well, earlier this week I got completely soaked, but here it's just like bloody lovely. And I'm sitting here looking out the St. Lawrence River. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, enough of all that. First of all, we have to say a huge thank you to Sky Demon for sponsoring this video. Thank you very much, Sky Demon. It was good to catch up with you last week at Aero Friedrichshafen. And here is shortly tonight, because there's been a little less prep. We tried last week's live show had 10 minutes prep. So we thought I'd try this one with the 0 prep. So slick production values will be back. Anyway, this week's live stream top tip from Sky Demon is here, and it's from Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and this is today's top tip. Sky Demon gives you the option to file a VFR flight plan if you're flying abroad, for example. First, make sure that you've set up your aircraft profile, including the aircraft registration, aircraft type, colour markings, and onboard equipment. Once your aircraft is set up and you've got your route planned, you'll see the File Flight Plan button in the Warnings tab or via the Route menu. SkyDemon fills in most of the form for you based on your planned route and aircraft profile, but there are still a few things to enter, such as your name, phone number, departure date and time, and search and rescue equipment. If you haven't set up your aircraft profile or there are other items missing, you'll need to fill in the rest of the form manually. You'll get a relevant notification at the top of the form about any errors. When everything is filled in correctly and you've got enough flight plan credits, tap Continue. Then when you're ready, press Send Flight Plan, and the flight plan will be filed to all necessary recipients. You can cancel, close, or delay your flight plan under Setup, Manage Filed Flight Plans. For more information on using SkyDemon, take a look at our user guide, which you can access from our website.
That is mighty impressive.
I saved hours and hours and hours of angst and trouble and stuff like that. It's all done super quickly, and it works really bloody well. It's amazing. I have to say, it's one of the big, good features. That in no time. It's like huge feature.
Ian, Nick Allen has a question. He said, "You do prep?" When you said we were short on prep, I think Nick doubts our prep levels.
Making things look this easy is really hard. Making things look this slick is equally hard. But and as if to prove it, I don't have my normal setup, and I've got to see what's next. Must be weather. We got Simon, so let's just go for the normal, bringing Simon in to tell us about the weather. Hello, Simon.
Evening, all. How are we doing? It's blooming freezing out there, isn't it?
What happened there?
Oh, I clicked it too. Go on, I'll leave you to it.
You just click happy this evening, aren't you?
There you go.
There we go. Look.
Do you want your weather pictures, Simon, or should we just have you in big?
You should. There we go. That's
right, the other way around.
Yeah, try it the other way around. Let's have a look.
We need to juggle him.
I can't do that.
Is that it? It's going to be.
Hang on a second.
Oh, no, it's gone. Come on, we can get there. We can do it.
Let's try that.
Hey, let's do that. Shall we? Why not? Quick, do it while it works. Okay. Right, so quite a bit of detail. That's better. Look at that. So quite a bit of detail for you on this weekend. It's a messy weekend of flying, but there is some flying to be found. I think you've got to be careful on the times of the day that you're going to be flying. Let me just quickly put you through this. This is Friday, which actually looks to be the better day of the weekend. It's an improving situation through the course of tomorrow. We've got this cold front that's clearing southwards. It's kind of dragging in some drier air across central parts of England and Wales and southern England as well, probably northwest England too, during the course of tomorrow. Now, there could be some fog patches early tomorrow morning in these central areas, but it will improve during the day. Base is getting up above about 4,000 feet. Eastern coasts do suffer from a northeasterly wind again, so some lower cloud there, some spots of rain coming in. You see the cloud ceiling forecast here, the oranges and the reds putting us at around 500 to 1,000 foot bases at midday, but even that will improve. Weak occluded front coming through Scotland, just sort of the picture of the week that has been with these weak fronts around. Bases on that about 1,500 to 2,000 feet, tops on it about 10,000 feet, and bits and pieces of rain. So not particularly great for central Scotland. Northern Scotland does fare better. Now, for Saturday morning, it's looking better. I think we've got a couple of problems on Saturday. Firstly, morning fog affecting much of England and Wales. However, that does clear away fairly quickly. So I'm fairly confident by about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, most places have seen improved visibility. May still be a little bit hazy, but it's looking better. So actually, much of England and Wales for a time Saturday morning looks okay. The occluded front you see here through Northern Ireland going through Northern England, that's got a band of cloud associated with it, probably bases of around about to 1,500 feet, tops at around about 10,000 feet on that. Now, Scotland, Western Scotland looks okay, bases probably at around about 3,000 to 3,500 feet, tops about 12,000 feet, decent visibility. But Eastern Scotland, with an easterly flow, has got low cloud along the eastern coast, bases of around 1,000 to 2,000 feet, tops about 6,000 feet, slowly improving. Now, the problem we have is that during the afternoon on Saturday, thunderstorms are going to develop. So a couple of extra slides for you here. Ignore that one. Let's get on to that one. This is Saturday afternoon's thunderstorm risk. Just look at the colours on here, not the numbers. So the red represent where there's a thunderstorm risk. The yellow, the greens are basically rain and showers. So you see here some pretty mighty showers developing across central parts of England, Wales and northwestern England on Saturday afternoon. The east stays relatively free of those. So I think you've got to watch central areas Saturday afternoon, particularly for a risk of some cunims and some thunderstorms coming in. Those showers could actually be, those cunims could be really quite deep. Now, Sunday, again, bit of a complicated situation. The morning, probably see some mist and fog patches. That clears, gives us a few hours clear. But then we're going to be finding storms developing during the course of the afternoon. And that is the area for Sunday afternoon that I think the risk is. Southwest England, Wales, much of Northern England, Southern Scotland, Northern Ireland. That's the storm risk. But East Anglia and Southeast England faring better, but rain for northern and western parts of Scotland. So loads going on. Keep a careful eye on the forecast, but just be prepared for morning fog and for afternoon storms. And don't forget, Aviation Weather School, my classroom-based Aviation Weather School on Saturday, the 3rd of June. You can book your place now at the website, weatherschool.co.uk. Phew, I know there was a lot there. Hopefully you took most of it in. Have a great week, and I'll see you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Simon.
Bye. See you.
Paul Fraser Bennettson says, pop a microlight, take back a Mac.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yes. I guess it's a good time to remind everyone that's popping Microlight this weekend. So take your Mac, take your Willies.
Yes, and you'll see Dave and I there. So come and say hello.
Well wrapped up, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully, cameraman chappy will have a big plastic bag over his lens or something.
Yeah. Or a giant poncho.
Yeah. Right. Johnny.
Yes.
A haircut, Johnny.
I have. Thank you for noticing.
On a different location, Johnny, with a solitary picture.
Yeah.
It might be something to do with your dad's flying job.
It might be. Well, no longer job.
Yes, because he retired today, didn't he?
Yes.
So happy retirement to Senior Salmon. We know you're sometimes in the comments.
He will be now, I'm sure. I'm sure he will be.
Would he not be down the pub already?
Well, we could, if we finish on time, maybe.
I think he landed off the approach, didn't he?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be so tempting as it's your last landing of a long career? That's got to be a go around, hasn't it? Going round. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. That's probably why I'm not an airline pilot. Right. Anyway, moving on. Johnny, tell us about the club.
So Sarah has got loads of new landing vouchers for May, which we'll update probably tomorrow, thanks to Poolies. Obviously, all the free landing vouchers are in association with Poolies Flight Equipment. So for May, we've got Stoke Golding, Ballardo, Barton, that's the new name, isn't it? Not Manchester City. It is now Barton.
Oh.
Bye, Ian. See you. Thanks for coming. Ord End, which is a good one to visit. Peterborough, Sibson, and Dunkeswell. So there's 6 free landings for May, which we will update probably tomorrow, and then they'll all be ready for the 1st on Monday. And if you're not a member, you can get all of that for £5 a month. So just join fly.co.uk/membership. And you can either pay £5 a month or pay 52 quid for the whole year. So frankly, it's a bargain. I've not done the maths, but with all those airfields, we must be pushing 30 quid of free.
Yeah, maybe more.
Maybe more, I would have thought, yeah.
Quite possibly more. Yeah, no, absolutely. Did you say Barton, Manchester City, Barton?
Yeah, we're just. I think anyone should be able to call it whatever they want now, because this is all these name changes.
That's got to be that's got to be 15 or 20 quid on its own, isn't it?
Yes, so Goodell says loads of us enjoyed using the Taken Hill voucher this week. Thanks for the freebie.
And thanks for pronouncing it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Let me get my running sheet up. Just carry on talking. Phil. So
okay. Webinars, Johnny.
Webinar. We had Ed did a webinar with Greeners on Monday, all about UPRT. How did that go?
Yeah, that was great. When we finally tied up with Greeners on the allotted time, it was all fantastic, and there was a really fantastic hours full of chat on UPRT. And it's worth remembering that UPRT isn't just because people go, oh, it's a bit like aerobatics. Actually, as Greeners reminds us, upset recovery can be any form of deviation in what you're expecting from, if you're just out for a straight and level flight. The engine failure can be part of upset recovery. So, and he gave some really good tips. Discussed a bunch of scenarios, and gave it was like the condensed tips that you get if you spend a whole day at Ultimate High doing the upset recovery course. Really worthwhile. If you haven't watched it, go. Then follow your link. Go and watch it on catch up. Obviously, you'll need to be a member of the club though. So
and I think we've got Dave White up in May to talk about flying into Europe, which he's just done. He's just been to Aero and back, so he's the man in the know.
Absolutely. Good.
Mark Lytham says, webinar was very good. I have a new phrase, LSO decision making. You need to watch the webinar to discover what Mark describes as LSO, or Mark Greeners, that is. It's the least something option.
Is it silly?
Yes, least silly option.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So if you're not a member, just join. Come on, just a favour. Right, moving on. I think it's time for a Fly 2023 update. Is that you as well, Johnny?
No, that's me.
No, that's Dave.
That's
Dave.
right. Yep. So you may remember our Fly 2023 challenge is fly 2,023 minutes in this year and visit a total of 23 airfields. You can visit more if you like. They don't have to be brand new to you. They can be any airfields, but 23 airfields. I took a quick look at the Flyer forum where we run the heart of the challenge, if you like. There's a link to the forum, which somebody might put up in a second. And among the most frequent, challenger, if you like, person taking part, is Iceman. That's his name on the forum. He's better known as Mark Saunders. Mark does a lot of flying. In fact, I'm convinced he spends more time in the air than he does on the ground. And there's plenty of unusual reports he's made, but even so, flying into a heliport is just showing off, really, isn't it? It's just showing off. He does go in a mall, which has got pretty good short field performance. He landed at Tresco Heliport, which does actually have a short runway of just over 200 meters. He said, Mark said, on arrival, he was greeted by the full fire crew. I wonder why. And,
well, Whiskey Alpha Pilot said, I managed to do 4 of my 23 in Europe. Wayne,
yes.
I think you did your first trip to Aero, didn't you? That looked fantastic.
Yeah. And Mark Saunders also said on departure, the manager of the heliport met him so he could put the road barriers down and turn the heliport flashing red warning lights on. So they clearly weren't convinced it was all he was going to get out properly, but he did. Iceman has already passed 2,023 minutes this year. He flew to Jersey in March, which took him over. Wow. Somebody else who's doing quite well is Melanie Moxon, who is very actively flying a Condor, and she's shown here flying over Lady Bower Reservoir, which I think is near Sheffield, isn't it? Looks fantastic.
That's amazing, doesn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. And last one we're going to quickly visit is Annabelle Cook. Annabelle Cook is also showing off. She's been to Florida to fly this with Stallion 51. God.
Right. And I think looks like Paul Cadell's done his 2023 minutes already.
Yes.
Yeah. No surprise there, Paul.
On flight 2023 hours, Paul. I suspect.
Yeah. I forgot to mention at the top of the show that we've got Emma Henderson patiently sitting in the green room. We'll bring her on just after the news. But I don't know what happened. I went away and came back and looked at the running sheet, and the amount of news there is tonight, there's enough to fill like 10 hours worth of stuff.
There is a lot of news, so we will have to skip through fairly promptly.
Let's have a succinct news session, I guess.
Yep.
Dave.
Yep. So the first news story is from Diamond, who have announced they're working on a project to create what they call a bivalent engine. I had to Google bivalent to find out what the heck that means. It means it burns two types of fuel. In this case, hydrogen or Jet A, diesel, or a percentage mix of both. The thinking is that hydrogen is a very clean fuel, but the infrastructure at airports and airfields isn't there right now, and it's probably going to take a while before it is. So it's useful to have an engine that can burn this clean fuel, but it can also burn Jet A when there's no hydrogen available. So that's a new project.
Yeah.
I thought it was something to do with muscles, but that's by valves, isn't it?
It is by valves. Yeah.
Okay. Next story is a sad story. This concerns Tayside. Tayside was sold not that long ago now to a local pilot called Tony Banks. That's Jim Watts, the previous owner, sitting in front of it. And Tony Banks invested £1.5 million in, according to the reports, and unfortunately the administrators have been called in and Tayside is no longer. A couple of things. The administrators basically said that when it was taken over, there was quite a lot of money that was owed to students who kind of paid for their training up front, which that's what the administrator said. We have no way of knowing. The administrator letter also said that they've had an awful lot of people contact them, but I think a lot of people have contacted them, said, do you want to sell this airplane or that airplane? At the moment, they're only really looking for offers for the whole business, as it were. There was an RAF contract, but that wasn't signed and has now been withdrawn, I think. So full details via the administrators. Of course, the important and sad thing here is that just don't pay up front for flight training. However good, whatever, don't do it. Don't pay up front for flight training. And we'll have some more on that. And so there are a couple of good things that have come out of a bad situation. I guess Bristol Ground School have offered to complete people's distance learning ATPL studies for free, and Ultimate Hire have offered some extremely advantageous prices for people caught up in this to complete their UPRT training as part of their ATPL courses. So some good things coming out of it, but overall a pretty sad and tragic story for a company that had been providing flight training for something like 53 years, I believe.
Yep, 50 odd years. Yeah.
50 odd years. Just awful.
Yeah.
So
next
is you are Ed.
Yes, so a bit of a wrap up from Aero. So obviously last week was fabulous Aero Friedrichshafen. A few things that we needed to mop up. Flight design confirmed that it will power its upcoming 4-seat F4 with the latest 160 horsepower Rotex 916. German manufacturer said it's the first flight of the F4 prototype with the 916 is planned for the end of 2023. With pinch of salt here, EASA CS23 certification expected Q3 2024. Expect to pay less than 400,000 euros. They're saying for that. A different end of the price tag, price spectrum. £5 million is a big tag, but today our customers it's considered normal. At Aero, Senior Vice President Nicolas Chabert said that the TBM 960 has surpassed all previous sales records, proving to be their most popular TBM to date. 60 of those are being delivered, mostly to North America, but also to European owners, France, Germany, Switzerland, and the UK. They have delivered 1,139 TBMs in all 12 configurations since they started making those. Also from the Dea stable, the stretched Kodiak 900 that partners TBM received its European type certificate during Aero. First handover of that to a European operator is scheduled for later this year. French startup Aero announced it will begin flight testing the nose wheel version of its two-seat aerobatic aircraft, the Integral S, in the next few weeks because it's got its permit to fly from EASA. The second tailwheel version, the Integral R, we saw that at the Aero show last week. That's going to start flight testing again soon. Obviously, Aura lost the first Integral R when they had a crash which killed both of their test pilots. Very sad. The Integral, that's a new generation of two-seat aircraft, all aerobatically capable, and the nose wheel one looks perfect for the UPRT market. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. And there's an electric motor version of that planned in the future. And finally, there's a new Shark in town, the Shark Aero Turbo Shark 600. Sounds like a Hoover. First unveiled at Aero Friedrichshafen in 2007, Sharks become pretty distinctive, and it's obviously the choice of the youngest male and female pilots to have flown around the world in the hands of Zara and Mac Rutherford. The new aircraft, Turbo Shark 600, uses a 126 horsepower Edge Performance 914 TI engine, which means it can keep its power up to 14,000 feet, and at altitude, Shark think that that aeroplane is going to be capable of a true airspeed of 215 knots. The turbo version will be available in Germany by the end of this year, 310,000 euros, including tax.
Yes, there were a couple of other pictures that we didn't get. We'll just have a quick flash by. There was Rachel who's with us. There we go, flying a helicopter sim. There were some hot air balloons.
Oh, that was all from Livestream Extra yesterday.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known
our
that.
food deserves There you go. And just to give everyone who couldn't make it there, look at that. I mean, isn't that drop dead gorgeous, stunning?
It is a stunning setup. We were only reminded of how stunning it was on the last day, wasn't it, when the sun finally came out?
Yeah,
so.
Okay, that's true. So anyway, thanks for that wrap up. And the next story is Johnny.
Yeah, I'll be quick with this. So Britain Norman and Cranfield Aerospace Solutions, who are a pioneer of hydrogen electric fuel cells, have signed a piece of paper. So they're basically going to merge and develop a fully integrated zero-emission sub-regional aircraft for entry into service, they say, in 3 years. And basically, so far, they've signed a heads of terms agreement to agree to merge and do that. So, yeah, crack on. We'll look forward to seeing it.
There's going to be like an enter service of a hydrogen-powered short-haul commercial aircraft in 3 years. Hands up if you think that's going to happen by then.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay. My story next. This is from Garmin. It's called Garmin PlaneSync. Basically, a GDL60 little box. It's a data link thing. Effectively, if you have the latest Garmin Avionics and you want to buy one of these, and the box is about $4,000 plus installation, you will get your databases updated automatically. A whole load of interesting information around engine parameters and aircraft parameters will be uploaded to the cloud, logbook, etc., etc., etc. A whole load of really funky stuff, and you'll be able to wake your aircraft up remotely and see how much fuel and stuff like that's in it. It's all kind of like really good stuff, but it's clearly not the cheapest end of general aviation, and you'll have to pay a monthly subscription of $45 to get it basically works on 4G LTE. And so to get for that SIM card, that's going to cost you $45 a month. Anywhere outside the US pilots pay $30 a month, but rest of us pay another $15 on top of that. So if that's the kind of thing you want, you'll get yourself a GDL60. That's Garmin's PlaneSync. You will need the latest version of the TXI Avionics though, in order to make that work. So there you go, Johnny.
Yeah, quick one. I don't actually know if we've got a news story about this on the website, so I'm kind of going to wing it. But the Red Arrows. Last year, the MOD said, right, we want to find some new environmentally friendly smoke systems. So I think that's still ongoing. They use about 600,000 litres of diesel each year to produce all their smoke and all their displays. But the RAF want to be net zero basically by 2040. So I think the Red Arrows are looking at using SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, because that's the thing that they're looking at the moment. The RAF did a test flight last week or the week before with a Voyager, refueling Typhoons with SAF for the first time. So that's kind of the route they're going. So it could be the green arrows this year.
Or not.
Mm.
You just need a repaint.
Dave.
Yes, Elixir. Elixir had two stories to tell at Aero. First of all, Rachel, our helicopter correspondent, but also fixed wing flyer, she interviewed Cyril Champenois, who's a co-founder of Elixir, about recruiting and retaining young people into the company. I mean, they're a very young company. The average age of the current workforce is 34, and that's only gone up from 30. They're under 30 for a long time. But it's all part of an initiative that was launched at Aero by GAMA, the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, because there's a real feeling that young people don't want to get into aviation. It's not environmentally sustainable, as they think. So Cyril was saying that sustainability has to be left, right, and centre of the thinking of all aviation companies, or they're dead. No one young will want to come and work for them. Anyway, there was some good stuff coming out in that interview. Elixir also revealed it last year, that they're working with another French company, Turbotech, on a hydrogen-burning version of Turbotech's turbo generator. This is a turbine producing electricity which will power electric drives. Elixir sent us these graphics showing the installation, and they're moving on with it. And just in case you're wondering how two relatively new startups, Elixir and Turbotech, can afford to do a project like this, they've received 13 billion euro from the French government to fund it. So some serious money going into French general aviation.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
The turbine Elixir, I look forward to seeing that.
Yep.
And I put a link in the comments. There's to Rachel's Elixir story, so that's worth a read.
So the average age at Elixir is almost the same as the average age at Flyer, isn't it, really?
Well, 34, and apparently the age went up, because originally I think it might have been sub 30, but they got a bunch of experienced older people in, and all of a sudden, average age went up. So
if they employ anyone younger, they have to give them milk at 10 o'clock in the morning to get at school. Johnny, I don't know who's got the next Keevil story.
No, it's me. Just a quick one to say that the CA has approved the implementation of a new permanent danger area. That'll be EGD 148 Keevil. The change takes effect from the 15th of May, and that will be notified in the AIP supplement issued on the 4th of May 2023. It'll be activated by NOTAM with MOD Boscombe Down air traffic controllers providing a danger area crossing service. This is all to allow Watchkeeper to fly in and out of the Salisbury Plain danger areas. So I know a lot of traffic goes past the north-west corner of the Salisbury Plain danger area. So just keep an eye if that's one of your local haunts. So just watch out for that popping up and being active. So
yeah, I fly a lot around there, so I'm hoping it's not going to be active too often and too frequently.
Yeah.
But there you go. Johnny, you got some deadlines for us?
Yeah, quick one. So the Avionics project, they've got a bunch of flight experiences that are up for grabs for both genders, but you have to apply before midday tomorrow. So just go to the aviatrixproject.com and get an application in. And also British Airways Get Into Aero's event, which is held on the 3rd and 4th of June. You've got until Sunday to apply for that. And I know they still have spaces available. So go to aerobatics.org.uk/get into aeros and go and enjoy it.
Definitely.
Cool. Last news story is the government have launched a consultation. This is the Home Office on the information us pilots who fly overseas or back into the UK provide them. I read the consultation, and to be honest, I couldn't really see much of a difference between what they're proposing and what we have now in terms of cars. I mean, the only thing that I could see was that if you get it wrong, and they're claiming, not if you get it wrong, if you don't submit details, and they're claiming that 10% of foreign flights don't submit details. I'll get back to that in a second. That the person responsible, i.e. in this instance the pilot, will get somewhere between £10,000 and £50,000 worth of fines, which I think is pretty bloody rich, to be perfectly honest, particularly when they come up with this rubbish consultation, which offers. I did actually write to the Home Office and say, how is this different? And I got an answer to a completely different question. And I also pointed out the fact that actually most pilots who fly overseas on a relatively regular basis, most GA pilots that is, and will file the GAR form, General Aviation Report form, probably between 10 and 15% of the time that they do it, this thing gets lost in the system anyway. So you file your GAR, you get a receipt back with a reference number, and it's happened to me a couple of times now. You're walking along, you get a phone call. Go, hello, this is customs here. We just want to know why you're not filed a customs form. You go, I did file a bloody customs form, and they're all quite friendly about it. So maybe it would be more efficient if they just sorted out their own crap system and just did it properly in the first place. I don't know, just an idea. Get yourselves a bit more efficient and sorted out, perhaps. But I couldn't really see any difference in here. So I'm not really sure what it is exactly they're consulting on. Maybe I'm not sure they're consulting on anything. It's probably just a box they need to. Anyway, they did. Apparently, I did say they did get in touch and ask us to encourage people to take part in the consultation. So take part in the consultation, and I suggest you tell them how bad their system is to start with.
Yeah, they'll end up sending you to Rwanda,
No, there's no rants from me. I'm in a happy place here, but it is a stupid thing. But anyway,
without question. Yes.
Right.
There we go. So
have we missed any news along the way?
No, we've covered everything, including a rant.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to bring in Emma. Hello, Emma. Thank you.
Hello.
Patiently, I'm just going to make you big here somehow.
I don't need any help with that.
I do. I do. There you go. Join it. I don't know who's leading this.
I'll kick off. So we're joined by Emma Henderson, who's an aviator, DFT ambassador and CEO of the Project Wingman Foundation, which is a group of current and former aircrew from around the aviation industry who kind of are dedicated to serving the NHS staff and providing space to unwind and decompress and de-stress. So first of all, Emma, Project Wingman was born out of COVID, and COVID hit the aviation industry hard. So what spurred you and others to start helping people when, in actual fact, maybe you guys needed as much help as you could get as well? So what brought it on?
I often ask myself the same question, actually, because if we'd have done nothing, we could have just sat there during COVID and enjoyed the sunshine. But instead, we ended up working 18-hour days on this. But it was really just that I was very aware as this sort of impending tidal wave of doom was approaching us, and we were all being told how awful it was going to be. At the same time, we were all being told that the NHS was going to face its biggest challenge. I was aware of the fact that there was going to be a huge number of people sitting on the ground wanting to be in the air who, it doesn't really matter if you're in commercial, if you're flying for an airline or if you're in GA, pilots like to do stuff, don't they? So, I think we just wanted to feel useful. And I realised that there were transferable skills that we could use to help support the NHS. And I wasn't the only one that had this idea. So basically a mutual friend put me in touch with someone else. And basically I had the platform and the contacts to be able to put the word out and get a lot of interest in it. And our co-founder had the NHS contacts and the ability to put together a proposal that was in medical speak so that they would understand what we were trying to do. So it just came from, so my background was peer support at my airline. And so that's where the sort of the desire to help in that way came from.
Yeah. And what was the uptake like from the industry?
It was nuts. So I literally put an email, I sort of just hammered Workplace and Facebook and places like that and just said, if you want to help us do this, send an email to this Gmail account that we set up. And in 3 days, we'd had 750 people. And I was sort of busy trying to reply to them all saying, thank you very much, please stand by. And then by the summer of 2020, we had 4,500 people. And that number grew to 6,500 people at its peak. So, and that's across all areas of aviation. So it wasn't just airline staff. It was like, if you are a pilot or cabin crew and you have that kind of skill and you want to help, then we'd love you to be here. So, and we opened our first lounge at the Whittington Hospital in North London. And that was 3 weeks after we had the initial conversation about what can we do to help. And literally it kind of was like dominoes after that all through London. And then my kind of remit was getting it out of London because I live on the Moray Firth in the north of Scotland. So yeah, I was kind of like, well, I can't do anything down there, so let's get it across the country.
Yeah. What was feedback like from NHS staff?
It's been amazing because we're still going, we're still getting lots of feedback, but it was so humbling because we basically just said, look, let us wrap our arms around you. We're not trying to replace any of the systems you've got in place in the NHS. We just want to, give you an extra warm blanket of care. And the response we had from NHS staff was staggering. I mean, there are people who we had messages posted on our social media, or people would contact me privately or other members of the team privately, and things like, this is the best thing anyone's ever done for us, and this has made a horrible day bearable, and thank you for noticing us, and thank you for caring for us. And I think that was the most incredible thing, is that you kind of think that NHS staff ought to be noticed anyway, because we all need them in the end. And even if we don't ask to need them, they're always there for us. And we just sort of take it for granted that we have this great health system that's just available to us whenever we need it. And a lot of people just feel invisible. And it was like, we're asking you as a country to step up into the biggest responsibility you've ever faced. And the fact that we were prepared to go in our uniforms and just say, look, take the weight off your feet for 5 minutes, have a cup of tea, sit down, let's talk about something else. And it was often about flying and holidays and things like that. So it's a bit of distraction therapy as well. So it's amazing. And we still get that sort of feedback all the time. And from aircrew as well, because of course that was the other knock-on effect, is we created a community for people who were also facing a bit of a dark hour in our airline jobs.
Yeah. And what sort of skills did those aviation people have that transferred well to doing what you were doing?
So it's the sort of skills that we see on board every day, because we don't know why people are flying. They might be going on business, they might be traveling home from a party like I was today from London, they might be going to a funeral, they might have just got divorced, whatever. People bring baggage on board an aircraft, and not just the stuff that won't fit in an overhead locker. And so we don't know what people are coming for. So our job, obviously sitting at the exciting pointy end, a little bit less so, but we're all part of a team. So, is to welcome people with a smile, get people comfortable, look after them, care for them throughout their flight. And it's the same with our lounges, or it was the same with our lounges. We didn't know what job people did in the hospital, or care, actually. We didn't care if you were a consultant anaesthetist or the person that cleaned out the bins. Everybody was welcome. And of course, because we didn't know anyone in the hospitals, it was great, because that hierarchy didn't exist in our lounges. It was just like, come in, have a rest, let us care for you, even if it's only for 5 minutes. And give out chocolate as well, because the general public just inundated hospitals with generous gifts, a lot of which was chocolate. And because of the sort of fight or flight reaction of COVID and nobody knowing what that was going to be, we'd get people turning up with bin bags saying, I need to take all this chocolate back to the ward. And we were like, no, sorry, sunshine, this chocolate's for the lounge and you can send your people down for a break. So we sort of managed that. It helped the hospitals to manage all the gifts that they'd been given for their staff, things like iPhone leads, for example, because NHS staff were going into hospital to do a shift and not going home for 3 or 4 days, so they needed to be able to contact their families and things. So simple things like that, and we were able to manage the distribution of a lot of those things. So quite basic but quite essential.
So I take it Matt Hancock's girlfriend Gina Colangelo, she wasn't part of your wrapping a warm blanket around, was she?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
And if she was, I probably wouldn't admit to it.
Just wondered.
So aviation industry as a whole is kind of coming out of COVID in a fairly positive way. How's Project Wingman going now? Are you still supporting the NHS to the same extent?
Well, not quite to the same extent, because we end up with 104 lounges all around the country. My local lounge in Elgin, in the north of Scotland, was the furthest north. We were down in Devon, and we actually had 2 lounges in New York as well, which was very cool. Sadly, I never went to them. But we couldn't keep that going on that scale. That was very much, an emergency response. there was just no way that once people started going back to work, you can't crew a lounge 7 days a week from 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening. And that's what we were doing. And sometimes we were doing night shifts as well, because that was when people needed the support the most. So we are still going. But as we started to realise that the industry was going to recover, obviously it took longer than we would have liked it to have done. But as we sort of went in and out of lockdown, so lounges would close, people would go back to work, then there'd be another lockdown and everyone would say, oh, let's go back and do a Wingman lounge. So we were very flexible with opening and closing them. But we realised if we were going to be able to provide a bit more long-term support, we needed to do something different. So we actually had an idea to create a lounge in a van, and the original idea was to take the physical items to a Martin Lisby's seen the bus at Rochester. That's amazing. That's where we keep them at the moment. So the lounge in the van was basically the idea of literally getting a van, loading a load of stuff into it, and then setting up a pop-up lounge perhaps wherever it was needed. But actually sitting in a meeting one day, one of the guys said, why don't we buy a bus? And I'm not kidding you, within about 3 minutes, there were about 4 different options of buses that we could buy now. I was like, are you kidding me? What do we know about buses? But we did. We bought a bus, and we needed £100,000 to buy it, kit it out, and get it out on the road as a brand new charity that nobody had heard of, in the middle of a pandemic where nobody was going out, and all the other charities needed money as well. And I just thought, we must be mad. But we kind of worked on the field of dreams kind of theory, which is if you build it, they will come. And we felt a bit like that with the money, and it came. So for me, it was like, well, this must be the right thing to do, because the money's there, and we can make it work. So we launched that in February 2021. We called our bus Wingbee, and it's for those of you who are bus nerds, it's a Volvo B series bus, double-decker bus, previously owned by Lidl. For those who like this sort of thing, I know far more about buses than I ever wanted to now. And but it has a raised perspex roof, and it's got a galley, and there's air conditioning and heating and Wi-Fi and massage chairs and plants, and it's a really, really nice space to be in. So now we have 2 of those, Welby and Wingbee, because it's not confusing in any way at all, having buses that both start with W and end in B. So we have 2 of those, and they still tour the country. We've just been given another bus by First Bus Halifax. Shout out to them. But so to convert into our 3rd bus, and then it's just taking that wellbeing offering to places that the hospitals don't have space to do this anymore. We were only able to do it because wards were closed, because non-essential work wasn't happening. So it was called killing 2 birds with one stone, really, was being able to make the wellbeing move around the country, but also providing the space to provide it in for hospitals.
So moving on to the DFT, what's you're an ambassador obviously for the DFT. What's your remit? What can you do? What do you get to do?
I'd love to say eat as many Ferrero Rocher as possible, but I haven't seen I'm a bit annoyed actually, because I started this in January. I haven't been offered a single Ferrero Rocher in all that time. So come on, DFT, get on it. So that came about really a couple of years ago. So I am a military wife. You'll be more interested in my husband's job than mine, because he's a wing commander in charge of the training program for the P8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. So I'm sure you're all very excited about that. But a few years ago, when we were stationed down south, I met a lady who I stayed friends with, who just sent me a message one day and said, the DFT are creating these aviation ambassadorial roles, and I think you should apply. So I went through the process, and actually at the time I had just taken redundancy from EasyJet, and I wasn't in the right space to take on a voluntary role, when I was thinking, I just don't know how we're going to manage without my salary, but I still can't go to work. So I didn't do it that year, and that was the first year it launched. And when they talked about it again this year, I thought, you know what, I'm in a different place now, and I'd really like to do. I think I can give something back to an industry that I had a lot of support coming into aviation. And we talked briefly beforehand about the fact that, I started in GA. Very few people really start in the right hand seat of a jet. Everybody has to fly a light aircraft at some point. So that's where I started. I had a lot of support, and it's a way to try and give back to that because, you know, I do a lot of mentoring for pilots coming into the industry. I have a lot of knowledge. I know a lot of stuff about the industry and how you can get into it and what the pitfalls are and things. So it's a kind of a way of me having a more official platform to be able to do that and to try and help to make, you know, an aviation workforce that's fit for the future is great, but actually there's some issues that need to be sorted out. And if you haven't been in the industry, how can you possibly know what they are? So it's an opportunity now for me to give something back to an industry that I love. I mean, I might have stopped flying, but it never leaves you, does it? It's still there.
So there's a question popped up. I'm not sure it's going to be an easy one to answer, or that you can even answer it, which is love watching you on Inside the Cockpit. Would you recommend the EasyJet MPL to CE? We've just run a show in London called Pilot Careers Live, where we had a whole load of stuff like that, and I think it's, well, my main view is it's really difficult to answer that question easily without having a whole conversation with someone and finding out all sorts of it's just far too complex a subject. But have a stab at it if you like.
Well, we had aviation ambassadors. I wasn't there, but we did have a team of aviation ambassadors at the Careers Live in London at Heathrow at the weekend. So I hope that some of you who went were able to enjoy that. Do you know, it is a really difficult question to answer because I'm old school. So I went, you know, University Air Squadron, had a gap, had some kids, went and did it, you know, PPL, CPL, did the exams and went through that way. And I personally feel that that gave me some skills that maybe you don't get by doing an MPL, or even going through a school and not doing an MPL, but doing the full, you know, CPL or ATP, frozen ATPL through the schools. But, you know, it's horses for courses, really. If you can get a job at the end of it, then of course it's worth doing. But what I would say is, I don't think it's worth signing up to do a course that's a whitetail course and hoping you'll get a job at the end, because you might do. But I know so many people that have waited several years after they've finished their training and had to keep their licenses current and not got a job because it hasn't been a branded course. So I would recommend working for EasyJet. I think it's a fabulous company to work for. I loved my time there. It's the only airline I've ever worked for, so I'm biased. But, you know, I really had a fabulous time working there. And if you want to go into the airlines, you know, it's one of the many options. I don't think it's the best option, but I don't think it's the worst. I think it's you've got to choose what your LSO option is, haven't you? I like that. I think the industry generally needs to put more funding into training its pilots. I don't think any of us disagree on that. And it's a conversation we've had as part of you know, DFT conversations with ambassadors and things. Everybody thinks that, but it's not going to happen while people are still willing to pay for it. So there's nothing wrong with the MPL. I mean, the people I flew with when I was a captain who had come through the MPL courses were very knowledgeable. They were very good at their jobs. You're taught to fly a jet, so you know you're very sort of up to date on the operational side of how you fly a big aircraft like that. Whereas I, you know, learned to fly in a Bulldog, then a Tomahawk the second time around. So it was a massive jump going from that to an engine, you know, to an engine narrow-body passenger jet. And I'll admit the fact that at age 36 or something, 35 or something, I think it was when I went through my type rating, I was literally clinging onto the back of the aircraft by my fingertips for most of the type rating, and probably the first year of my job as well. So it probably does give you a better sort of awareness of the operational environment. I don't think it's the best choice. I don't think it's the worst. That's a really nice on the fence answer for you, isn't it? No commitment, absolutely no accountability.
Yeah, it's a real tough question, and you know, it is the right choice for some people. It's the wrong choice for other people, and everyone's circumstances are different. And you know, ultimately, what we found over the years, we've been running these shows for probably 25 years now, is that, you know, if you do whichever training suits you best. And you mentioned the whitetail stuff earlier, and you know, some people only have can only do a modular course extended over 5 years because that's the way their life's organised. But if they
that was me. I had 3 kids. You know, I had 3 kids and I was living the other side of the world in New Zealand on a military exchange. I had 3 kids. There was no way I could have. Well, actually, I did apply to what was then CTC to go and do the year-long course. And it was, they were flying out of Hamilton in New Zealand, and we were living at Whanurpai in Auckland. And I applied to them. I was 30, and they said, "You're too old. You're too old. It's 27 is the cutoff." And I was like, "Excuse me, what do you mean I'm too old? I've turned 30, not dead, you know." So I did challenge it. As people who will know me well know that I tend to challenge anything that I think is wrong. And I think that's the right thing to do always. But I did challenge it quite vociferously. And they did come back and say, "We completely agree, but that's our policy." And I was like, "Well, your policy is the middle letter of LSO." And then, of course, then a European ruling said you're not allowed to discriminate on age. And by that time, I'd already got a CPL. So I was like, don't want to do that anyway.
In the comments, Emma, David Eads suggests something that maybe as something as a DFT ambassador you might take up. VAT, David suggests VAT should be removed from flight training.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, to be honest with you. If it's, hi David, I know David, by the way, he's up here. Lovely to hear from you. I don't disagree with that, because you've got to make it more accessible. And you kind of think, well, if the aviation industry is short of pilots and the amount of money that's generated by that industry, and you don't have the pilots available, make it easier, make it more accessible. It fundamentally should not be the preserve of the middle class, wealthy-ish, person whose parents have got a house that's expensive enough to secure a loan against. It should be the people it should be available to anybody who's got the skills that are required, whatever their background. And if you charge VAT on top of it, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's £130,000 to go from nothing to the right-hand seat of a jet. I mean, how is that even allowed? You know, so actually anything that could reduce that. I personally would like to see VAT reduced from it and the airline stumping up 50% of the fees, and then bond people, because bonding isn't a bad thing. It's job security. So bond people for 10 years. You're basically guaranteeing them a job for 10 years. So
if the only thing they did was take VAT off and make proper professional flight training applicable to a student loan in the same way that university is applicable to a student loan, then that would solve 50-60% of the issue. But the fact that it isn't at the moment, if you don't have someone to underwrite that loan for you or to stump up the cash, then you have a real problem. You can still do it, just takes an awful lot.
Well, there are courses that you can do it as part of the course, but they're very few and far between. And of course, you know, there's 8,000 applicants for 5 places on every single one of these courses. And it is great, actually. I have to say, it's great to see TUI last year, and they're doing it again this year, offered funded places. Now, there's not very many of them, and it's very, very competitive, but it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. And the only thing that COVID really taught me about that as well is, you know, have another skill. Because we all thought, you know, I spent my career thinking, well, I'm as good as my last medical or my last landing. It turns out that the thing that stopped me flying in the end was something I had absolutely no control over. So thank goodness I've got my degree's in history, because it's an obvious one to go for when you want to be a pilot, isn't it? So, but thank goodness I had another skill, because otherwise I think I would have been quite desperate when I realised that I couldn't continue my job anymore.
Yeah, it's a huge subject, and it's something that's been spoken. I can remember, I think I must have been an awful lot younger than I am now when I first heard someone asking the government to take VAT off of flight training.
Yeah, I don't think it ever happened, but I mean, David, I will try, and thank you for asking the question. I'll give it my best.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Good.
Okay. Have we got any questions? There was someone made a point about there used to be an MVQ scheme, which is full tax relief. I remember that well.
Yeah, but in the 1990s, in the mid-1990s, I was a size 12, and that's never going to happen again either. So I don't want to burst your bubbles, but, you know, give me realistic targets. I love seeing a room full of speechless men. It's just great.
You can't follow that.
Maybe we should launch a project. Maybe we should call it the Size 12 project or something then.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be allowed to be part of that, would I? Bad idea.
It's an aspirational thing, isn't it?
Are you leading that, Ian?
What Size 12? I wish. No. Different subject.
So anybody who's wanting to get into the industry, I would say have another skill. When I did my type rating only with CTC, I was right place at the right time. I've been an instructor for 3 years. I had a lot of kind of experience behind me, and I did an interview on the same day as this guy who was 18. I won't say where he's from because I don't want to in any way identify him. He was a lovely, lovely guy, but he was 18 years old. He wanted to fly all his life. And he said, I'm really worried about the interview bit because I don't really know what to say about myself. And I said, well, you must have some interest, you know. And I said, what? He said, no, not really. And I said, well, what do you do when you're not working? And he said, I go and sit at the end of the runway at Manchester and watch the planes land. And I was like, okay. So is there anything else you do? He said, well, sometimes I take my dog with me. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, you are not the person that I want to spend 13 hours sitting next to when I'm going to Tel Aviv and back. So, you know, have something you can talk about. It doesn't matter if you don't know anything about flying when you go for a pilot interview and you want to be a pilot. Just be interesting, because you're going to be sitting next to somebody my age who's going to be really bored if all you can talk about is sitting at the end of it. It's great to be that passionate, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, having a lot of diversity in what you can talk about is better.
Because you've now got buses.
Yeah.
I've now got buses, you know. Volvo B series, you know, don't knock it.
Do your buses have a pre-selector on the gearbox?
I have absolutely. Not only do I have no idea, I have no desire to find out. But I can get our bus ops manager to answer that question for you in the future if you'd like me to, Dave.
I quite like your bus.
Well, if you'd like to come and drive one for us, it's coming up to the Highlands in May, and drivers are always welcome at Project Wingman.
We'll send Dave.
Yeah, Dave, you could do the North Coast 500 in it.
Oh yeah, that would be
good.
popular.
Yes.
Well, we are taking it up to Wick. It's starting in Wick on the 15th of May. So if anybody is watching and comes from the Highland area and knows anybody who works in the NHS in Wick or Inverness, our bus is coming to you. So starting on 15th of May in Wick, and the route up from, I don't know if you've ever driven up the A9 from Inverness to Wick, but it's a long and winding road. So it's going to be, I'm glad I'm not driving it. So I've gone from an Airbus to a care bus, as the one show so beautifully described it.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant. I don't know if anyone's got anything else, but we only have 2 minutes of the thing left, and we need to fit in fancy hangar. So at this point, I think if it's all right with everyone, I'm going to say, Emma, it's been amazing. Thank you very much. Great inspiration.
It's my pleasure.
Really,
Thanks for inviting me.
really good stuff. If ever you get down to the West Country in your bus, with or without your bus, come and say hello.
I absolutely will. I'm totally going to stalk you all on LinkedIn now. So
LinkedIn, we're down with the kids. We're on the gram, apparently.
Yeah.
as long as it's not on TikTok, that's okay with me.
You don't have a TikTok.
No,
only
Dave's dance channel is on TikTok.
Now that I would sign up for.
Well, maybe it's a new career.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having me. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you very much.
Must be time for.
Thanks.
There you go. Catkin says, "Oh, we've got a big Johnny. Great speaker, another lovely guest, quality guest. Mike Roberts. Johnny's on OnlyFans. Wow, maybe you're only aware of that, Mike. Thanks, Emma. Great guest. So, what a great project. I'd love to see the bus.
So would I.
Yeah,
Well, let's get a picture of the bus for next week.
yeah.
We could maybe what we should have done. We should have run as a special. If only we'd known it, we could have done fantasy bus.
Well, I get the impression that Dave would have been totally won
Would have
that.
been at home, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I chose a 1962 Route Master.
Yeah, particularly because of this gear selector.
I'd have gone for the one before, actually, but never mind.
Nevertheless. Right, fancy hanger, inspired by 600 kg microlights, because we saw a bunch of them at Aero last year, and obviously Popham, upcoming show this Saturday and Sunday. We thought, hey, let's pick some 600 kg microlights for our fancy hanger. So who is first?
Dave is going to be first. At least he's first on this list.
Right. Okay. Well, I've gone straight in with probably a very, very expensive one, but it's just a fantastic airplane. It's the Blackwing 635 RG. It's a bit like the Black Shape in its all carbon fiber, but this has got side-by-side seating, which is so much better than sitting one behind the other. So the Blackwing is the brainchild and passion project, they say, of its founder Nicholas Anderberg, an aerospace engineer who worked at Saab for designing military aircraft some years ago. It's carbon fiber airframe, 2 seats side by side, fully loaded with equipment, retractable gear. V&E at sea level is 173 knots. Its cruise speed at 65% power is 185 knots. This thing really rockets along, but it could also handle slow speeds and short runways because it's got a stall speed of 38 knots, takeoff roll of 150 meters, landing roll of 300 meters, a climb rate of 1,600 feet per minute. This is a really fun aeroplane.
Unfortunately,
they aren't quoting a price. That's the only thing.
It's the same as a fully optioned 787.
Yeah, probably. I think it's probably very close to 350,000 euro. Yeah. Anyway, it is fancy hangar after all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
And what was the engine in that, Dave?
It's the Rotax 915.
Okay.
And I can't wait because Blackwing and Reason have this on-off battle, don't they, to have the fastest microlight, and they've both got 915s. Obviously, the Rotax 916 is out next. I'm sure it won't be long before they're battling out to go even faster.
Johnny?
Yeah, so I've gone for the Black Shape Prime. Obviously, we saw the Gabriel at Aero last year, which I actually got to sit in. I think after somebody had bought it, they were really kind and let me sit inside it, which was really nice. But yeah, I think the Prime is a fantastic looking machine, and just the fact that they did actually fly this thing off the Italian Navy's aircraft carrier just for promo shots.
Wow.
That's enough of a tick in my book.
It's a great aeroplane, and they were at Aero this year, the Gabriel and the Prime, but they seem to have the same aeroplane. Don't seem to be making many aeroplanes, so they really are a bit fantasy.
Ed, I'm gonna put you in next, Ed.
Fantastic.
That's the power.
Oh, Mark Lythand, how did it smell, Johnny?
I can't remember actually.
Oh,
Was it side opening canopy?
Yes.
Yeah, because with those, the smell just disappears as soon as you open it.
So me next. So this was new at Aero this year. I picked this. This is the RV4 600R, which is a Vans aircraft RV4. It's being created by a company called Planeworks.de. And it's got a Rotax 915 in it. It fits nicely. Amazingly, this is a 600 kg ultralight. Stall speed is under the 45 knot requirement. Cruise 160 knots, 85% at 9,000 feet, and 1,800 feet per minute climb rate. It's got a ballistic parachute, and Planeworks are going to go into production and produce some of these. So I don't know a price. I need to find that out. Johnny likes it so much, he's taking a photo.
No, I'm scanning the QR code on the tail.
Scan the QR code on the tail.
The varying degrees of success, that QR code disguised on the fin. Yeah,
it does work.
So how much
Look
is
at
that?
that. Yeah, as well. There was one on a box I couldn't scan. Whiskey Alpha Pilot said the code on the tail did work. So I think that's pretty damn cool. And I've been waiting for someone to put a 915 in an RV, and this guy has done it. and I'm sure a 916 may follow. So that just leaves Ian.
I've chosen this.
That's a mosquito, Ian.
It's
That's
not
not
a
600
mosquito.
kg microlight.
I kind of basically, I think 600 kilogram microlights are amazing. I think they're great aircraft. They're the future of like aviation in many ways. I think I might even end up owning one at one point. But fantasy, can they really be a fantasy? No, they're kind of like, it's like the fact that I don't know. We've all got comfort food, like I don't know, lasagna or something. It's not your kind of foie gras or anything, lobster, is it? And so I can't quite bring myself to put a 600 kilogram microlight in my fancy hangar. I'm sorry.
Well, hello, party pooper.
I know. So if I was forced to, I'd put a Funk FK9 in. But
Well, you see, that's really nice.
I know, but not as nice as that.
No, that's because that does just one engine off that weighs 600 kgs.
At least, yeah. I just think my fantasies need to be more fantastical, as it were. But there you go.
Right.
In the comments, Jane Gifford says, "Is Dave making all this up?" You might think, Jane, but no, most of that was true. Dave wins, beautiful and fast. That is extra sexy. What a plane! Flying Pig says none of them will be better than a Sky Ranger Classic. Obviously, if you have the Sky Ranger 600 kg, you've got something like 300 tons of useful load, haven't you? Because it weighs like a fag packet.
It carries more than an A380.
Yeah. What else? Looks like a Bristol. No, it doesn't, Mike. The Bristol is nowhere near like the Blackwing. Paul Fraser Benison, is it made of Baker foil? No, that's because paint puts over white. There we go. Johnny, prime all the way. Ian wins despite cheating. Paul Fraser Benison thinks a turbine-powered Ninja. Well, that would be something. I guess there's nothing to stop you having a turbine. I'll second that, Paul. Johnny's taste is improving. Johnny wins. Dave wins. Dave or Johnny. Lobster what? Dave wins. Dave wins. Dave wins. Dave. It looks like you've run away with it, Dave, with your £400 million Blackwing. No one chose the shark. What's going on? I know maybe that's just too obvious a choice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Eclipse aircraft. Yeah, that was there. That is also quite pretty. It's a bit like if you know the Swift. That's that the UK aircraft industry is perhaps promising us. The Eclipse is a bit like the Swift. So Kintail says Scale Wings SW51. There we go. That's in it. That's definitely something really nice. So,
cool.
Oh, Aviator Steve, don't like the look of the wing on Ed's. It's an RV. It's just a big rectangle.
Yeah. So I think Dave has won that one, hasn't he?
Yeah, Dave, 100%. What's it like to be a winner? Winning next week on what fantasy bus?
It's very rare, so never mind.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay. Well, give us the events then. It's got to be Popham Microlight.
Yep, Saturday and Sunday, there's a Popham Microlight trade show. Weather's going to be iffy. Sunday, 30th of April, spring flying at Easter Airfield. I didn't quite sure about the weather on that. This 28th, actually, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Military Civil Aviation Safety Day at IF Benson. If you haven't booked, you can't go, so it's not a question of turning up. Until the 30th of April, Top Nav is still going on at various airfields around the UK. And there's a series of Pooley's presentations airfields coming up. 2nd of May at Blackpool, 3rd of May at Fife, 4th of May at Perth.
2nd of May at Blackpool, and then they've got to drive up to Fife. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff Bridges says Chipfest at Leicester as well.
Right.
And the Pooley's Air Day has been postponed, doesn't it? Up until September.
Yes.
Pooley's Day at Compton Abbas has been postponed, yeah.
Compton, still work in progress.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, I think that's just about it. So I think at that point, we should say thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, Emma. Have a great weekend flying. Enjoy your weather, your buses, and everything else that comes along. And we'll see you next Wednesday for Livestream Extra, if you're a member. If not, why not? Next Thursday evening for Livestream, as it were. And if you haven't applied for tickets, don't forget on the 11th of May in London, there's the Livestream Live, where we're actually all including Simon's, going to come along and give live weather, and we're going to do a live thing. I think we've got room for about 150 people. I think there are a few tickets left, and I think there's the London Flying Club's threatening to buy the first round, which is extremely generous for many people.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a ticket, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
On that basis, thank you very much, everyone.
See you all next week.
See you all next
Bye.
week.